Aubrey Ugorowski is the communication specialist at the University of Wisconsin-Madison Department of Material Science and Engineering. She started her strategy with social listening and chose authenticity over perfection and polish. Welcome to Confessions of a Higher Ed Social Media Manager. I'm Jenny Li Fowler, award-winning social media professional, author, and podcast host, and a recognized voice across the social media marketing industry. Social media managers are navigating the wild, ever-changing world of higher ed communications, and I'm here to share the real stories and lessons behind the posts. Each episode explores the challenges, strategies, and untold moments that come with running social media accounts in today's digital landscape. Let's get into it. Aubrey, welcome to Confessions of a Higher Ed Social Media Manager.
Thank you so much. I am a longtime listener, very excited to be here.
Oh, what a compliment. Thanks, Aubrey. Can you talk about how you manage social for your department when it's just only part of your duties?
Yeah, it's pretty common for communication specialists. And, I don't know how any of us do it. It's
it's so true.
It's a lot. But everybody's got their own time management tools that they use and work well for them. Honestly, the big challenge for me has been being able to get in the right headspace to switch from, talking to donors to talking to prospective students on social to writing an email campaign for something else. That quick pivot has been something that has been making me grow a lot, I think, as a professional. But yeah, it's new for me.
I think that's a great tip and frame of mind. But do you make social a part of your day, or are you just working it when it's a priority, or how does that work?
I think social is a little different from a lot of my other responsibilities because it is a year-round thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much like there's a busy season as there are seasons that we're prioritizing because of where we are in the funnel, right? So I do definitely build it into my daily life. And a lot of that is social listening. The antenna's always up, as Shishita Podar at University of Iowa always says.
That's true. And I appreciate that you said that because I do think that social, there's no sort of turning on and off social. Like social is something that needs to be maintained and at all times. And I say fed, but what I mean is like you need to create content for it like all year long, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought up social listening because I did want to ask you more about that. Like you took a strategic approach and said, okay, hold on, we need to take a pause and we need to start with listening. Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah. For a lot of social teams, especially those of us who are very stretched, our social media content calendar can become, like you said, this beast that we need to feed or, something that we need to check off of our to-do list. And so what happens is we look internally and we think, well, what are we good at? What do we think other people should be interested in about us? And we build our content calendar around that. And what I wanted to do is shift our strategy. So we're having those internal conversations because knowing yourself and your brand is so important, but also strongly emphasizing social listening and paying attention to the conversations that are happening about your brand and about related interests, right? So, for example, we're not active on Reddit or TikTok, but I spend a lot of time in those platforms looking at conversations. Like, what are they saying about our program? What is the admissions process like for them? What questions they have about student life? Then also, what questions they have about college in general.
So what did you find? Like, did you actually hear like actual feedback that was like, this was positive, this was negative, or I really liked this? Like, was it that specific?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of students who are interested in engineering, but they may not be as familiar with material science and engineering, which is, my department, as opposed to, say, mechanical or electrical. So it's a lot of like basic awareness that we want to build because it's such a fascinating field. But also very hands-on questions like, okay, is this a field where people go on and get their graduate degree? Or is this a field where you can jump right into industry? For us, the answer is both. So we could create content that kind of shows both paths.
So the questions, I mean, I love this because this is what I preach this all the time, is that the things that people are talking about or what they're asking you about should inform the content you create. Is that
100%.
just to, because if they're the ones that, if one person is asking it, chances are like 20 people are asking the same question, right?
Oh,
So you
yeah.
might as well answer. So can you tell our listeners who are like, oh gosh, how do you even find, where do you even start in Reddit? Like, can you kind of talk about your process of, finding this like sort of content or listen comments and how you go about listening in the channel?
It can be super intimidating when you're just starting out. So I think just having the courage to log onto those platforms and start with very basic keywords or phrases, like the name of your program or your university, just to dip your toe in the water is really great. And as you're scrolling through, those conversations will kind of clue you in to other phrases that you can search as well to go a bit deeper. And then for platforms you are active on, for example, we are active on Instagram, we have curated our algorithm for that business account to bring us those conversations so we don't have to spend so much time digging for them.
So when you say bring us those conversations, can you tell us exactly what you're doing, how you're doing it?
Yeah, it started out by doing keyword searches or looking under geolocation tags or tagged pages in posts that are related to us. And when we saw something that was interested or we wanted to see more of, we saved it to a specific folder. That's sort of like the social listening conversations folder. So that way everything's organized in one place to look back on. But more importantly, we are telling Instagram or our algorithm, hey, this is something we're interested in, bring us more of this. So then it just kind of shows up in our feed a little bit more naturally.
That is super smart. Yeah, train the algorithm to work for you.
Yeah.
Right? I love that. And okay, so when you have a saved folder or saving things, are you saving it like people can save content in Instagram, or are you saving the link in like a shared folder that your entire team can get a hold of?
I save it to a folder in Instagram, but if there is something that I think is going to make sense for a stakeholder to see in order for them to understand where I'm coming from a little bit better, that's when I take those links and I work it into a meeting document or an email. I would love to get to the place where we have a shared folder, but
I know. Okay, so that's fair. Yeah, that's fair, because you did make it very clear that you are a comms team of one and you're media. But I say that to say that it's important to start. I mean, even if it's just you, it's important to start creating these processes where it's not just you.
Yes.
So that it's not just on your desktop, right?
Oh, no, definitely not. And we've got, backups for the account itself and multiple people have access. We always say if you get hit by a bus or something.
Exactly. So I just say that to say it's business continuity, but also you need to just, if you do onboard someone, you want to make sure that everything is in a shared space already, right? Instead of you having to move things over. And it just makes it easier for when that time actually happens. Are there other things you've learned from these conversations?
Yes. Besides like very tangible content ideas that would relate to like a pamphlet or a piece of admissions material, like what kind of jobs can I get with this degree? It's also been great to observe and understand the Gen Z and, Gen Alpha coming up as well, their communities as a whole and how they prefer to interact in the digital space. And so a big thing that I've seen a lot of is content with a narrative arc, whereas for the past few years, I was seeing a lot of like aesthetic focused posts that didn't go much deeper than that. But now this sort of storytelling, something with a narrative you can follow, serial content, that sort of thing has gotten so big. And that's informed our tactics as well.
So tell me more, because I feel like a lot of universities have been focused on storytelling and sort of telling the stories of our students. Is it different from that?
It is a little bit. So a lot of storytelling content we think of is very much like, here's a photo of a student and here's a long block of text that's their story. And sometimes that works amazingly well. But sometimes, especially on platforms like Instagram, there might be better avenues you can explore. And so, one example, is this a good time to talk about the race?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So one example is that we want to communicate that we are a tight-knit community and this is a place where professors know your name. And instead of just coming out and saying that or having, an iPhone picture of students at an event or something, we took a tradition, which is the Crazy Legs 8K race in Madison that our department gets fired up for whatever reason. And it becomes this big battle of undergraduates versus staff, faculty, and graduate students. And there's like an award ceremony at the end of the year. It's just crazy. But we never really, we'll post pictures as like an event recap, but we never bring the audience along for the ride. So this year we did it a little bit differently. We had the little tiny wireless lav mic and the teams got to talk smack about one another before the race, a little bit, the friendly banter. And then we had kind of like a vlogging segment in the middle during the race, which ended up being so funny because I ended up being in last place. And my coworker and I realized it like halfway through. The car that's at the end of the line was following us. And we got to like put up the camera and talk to the mic. And as we're realizing that, which made for great content.
No, but this is dedication. Do you run?
No, I didn't train for anything. And it's like an 8K.
8K. Okay. Hold on. Aubrey, 8K.
I know.
This is like 5 miles?
Something like that. Yeah.
And this is such dedication. And so as the social media manager covering the event, you like laced up your shoes and you ran. Well, the whole...
ran is a very generous term. Maybe power walking is a better.
No, but still. Yeah. And you did it in the first person, right?
Yes.
You were shooting in the first person. So what did you show when you were running in first person? Because I guess I asked that because it's one thing to say our professors know the first names of our students in a little quote, but then it's another thing to show there is actually a relationship between faculty members and students. So that's what I was just asking. So like, did you feel like you got to show that relationship when you were running with a mic?
Yes, I definitely feel like it was one of those great show, not just tell moments, because you see the camaraderie between all of these different groups in the department, and you're seeing it in action in a way that feels a little bit more unique. So I think it definitely went well, and you can tell when people are having fun when they're being filmed. And so just seeing them light up and be excited about this was really great for me.
And how did it do?
It did really well. I would, when I looked back at the metrics, in terms of overall views and reach, it was about double what we would normally expect for content like that.
Amazing.
Yeah, which is really encouraging. And then likes and engagement were also higher, about 30 to 40% higher than what I was expecting. So definitely paid off.
And did you learn more from the comments too? Like what were people saying? Yeah.
We put a poll in the caption for the first time too, which is like, what team were you rooting for? And there was so much engagement on that. And that led to some comments as well from current students and recent alumni, just everybody getting into it because it's such a beloved tradition.
So it looks, you really got to show them a piece of the culture and the community. So my guess is, even if there was someone that was into engineering and equally into running, I'm sure that really got their attention.
Definitely.
So is this something that you're going to do every year?
I don't know if I'm going to run it every year.
I think that's a good call. Yeah, I think you can do different versions, right? You don't have to run. Yeah.
Yes. And I think the more that I am willing to get out and do these things or willing to be a participant with them, the more trust I earn from the students and the faculty as well. So they feel like they don't have to be afraid to, participate at a higher level with the social media stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, but the cool thing is now that you've done it once, I think you could maybe recruit someone to wear the mic next year, right? Or do a little bit of filming. right?
Definitely.
Yeah. And I think every little bit of help you can get as a one person social media team, it goes a long way when, right? When you just kind of recruit or ask people, right, to help you.
It can be very intimidating to ask, but when you do, honestly, the response is almost always better than what you would hope.
Yeah, and they'll help you, especially when they're excited about it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage you. Like, I think next year you could get different perspectives and even encourage people to like share it on their socials and right? And
I love that.
Right, and then they can be a collaborator with you, right?
Mm-hmm. And get some UGC involved too, so it's not just us producing all of it. That's the dream right there.
Yeah, exactly. So, and now that you've got that running, I think that is something that could be its own well-oiled machine, right? That just happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish that for you next year. So what advice would you give to like comms professionals like in your situation on how to include social listening into their workflow?
I would say just focus on consistency first. If you only have 5 minutes a day to dedicate to it, that's totally fine. Just put in that 5 minutes consistently, and there are going to be times of the year where your calendar does open up a little bit more and you can do more of that research and fine tune, like we were talking about earlier, train your algorithm to bring that content to you. As the page performs better and as you're able to show your supervisors and stakeholders that it's paying off, I think ideally, hopefully, they will give you more time and more resources to be able to pour into it.
Yeah, that's the hope, right? Is like you start building your business case of why this is important. I'm also curious. You said you did have more in the comments and people were cheering on their teams and so did you engage with the comments in any way?
We did a little bit, mostly just liking, because I don't want to like dominate their conversation when they're creating their own space in the comments. There have been times where we definitely have jumped in and had, a little bit of a banter, or it made sense to interact. But I think it's also important to know when not to like step on their toes, if that makes sense.
Sure, because they're having a conversation like amongst themselves. And you felt like this was a space where you wanted to let your audience kind of banter back and forth and get into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. No, I get that thinking. I like that thinking. All of this sounds so good. And I think you were so smart to start with social listening because I feel like a lot of people don't start there. So if there were other folks that were on the fence, maybe they're a little bit more worried about the content side than the social listening side, how would you make a case to add social listening?
I think the trade-off is worth it because when you spend more time listening, you will just get so many more post ideas and you'll get so used to like the pacing and the format that performs well that when it is time to start creating your posts, the time it takes to create a better post gets so much smaller. In other words, the turnover is much faster for content creation.
Are the posts intricate, or are they what are you creating from the ideas that you're getting from social listening?
For us, we're starting a bit smaller, so mostly filmed with a phone or with a tiny mic, or occasionally pictures taken with a nice camera. We are working towards getting something that's a bit higher production for the moments that call for it.
Right.
But in the meantime, it's more about the quality of the idea and making sure that it has its room to grow and that we can just get it out there instead of spending forever tweaking and trying to make it absolutely perfect, which is hard for me.
Yeah, so you're what I would call a perfectionist, or what we all call a perfectionist?
Yes, okay. Yes. And so, yeah, I mean, when I look at our feed, of course, I would love to raise the bar and I would love to have things at a slightly higher caliber than we do now. But that's part of the journey, and we have to be willing to wade through this with the time and the resources we have. Before we can get to that.
That's exactly right, Aubrey. And the reason why I asked you that is I sort of wanted you to share that it doesn't have to be a heavy lift. Like the content does not have to be this I feel it doesn't have to be a high production piece of content. In fact, I think that audiences today are looking for something a little bit raw and more authentic and first person, right? Like you
totally
carrying a phone and jogging or fast walking down during that 8K. So I just want to sort of encourage people, to just do it, right? Because done is better than perfect, right?
Yes.
And actually creating content to have it is better than being paralyzed by not being able to start at all. And also, you said something I really, really loved. You said the quality of the idea is more important than the execution. And I think that is a huge revelation you just gave.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it's the right idea, it's going to shine. An idea that's not as great, that's extremely well polished, will never outperform an idea that's fantastic, but wasn't executed, 100% perfectly.
I don't think I could have said that better myself. If you're getting the ideas from listening to what your audience is asking for, then it's content your audience wants to see, right? Ultimately, that will determine its success. So, Aubrey, before I get to the last question, is there anything you want to share about your process or your system that we haven't mentioned yet?
Two things. One is don't be afraid to reach out to people who have similar jobs to you, either in different areas of your university or different institutions, because, odds are they might be in a similar boat, or if they have figured out something, they, in my experience, have always been more than happy to share and just sort of talk about it. Even if you're an island in your own department, you don't have to be an island like in your whole professional life. So I'm very grateful for the people who have, sort of helped me along the way. And the second one would be definitely to check out Jenny Li Fowler's book, because honestly, I pivoted to higher ed from a different industry, and this book came out around that time, and it was an insane, huge help. So yeah, I absolutely love it.
Aubrey, that's like the ultimate compliment. And I just want my listeners to know, no, I did not pay her to say that.
She didn't, I swear. I know. Sorry.
No, I love it though. That is just, I appreciate it, Aubrey. Thank you so much. And that's why I wrote the book, right? Is to help other social media managers. So that's just music to my ears. But I have one last question for you, Aubrey. What is your confession?
My confession is kind of similar to what we were talking about earlier. I came from a multimedia background first. I have an audio production bachelor's degree. And when I came to higher ed, and I was in this position where the budget and the resources to do super high value production weren't there, and it didn't necessarily make sense for what we were doing, operating in these lower production value spaces made me a better storyteller and continues to help me get better at storytelling. Because there's, you can't hide behind that high production. And when we do decide to produce something at a higher level, it's because the idea calls for it, not because we just feel like it should be this way. Does that make sense?
Yes. You're saying if you're telling the stories, if the stories themselves are compelling and authentic, it doesn't have to be glossy.
Right. And when it's time to be glossy, it's because you guys have decided that it's the right fit for this project, right?
Right. But I don't know that that's always a good call. It's not always necessary.
So true.
And I love that you said, like if it's really high production, high value, you can sort of hide the lack of substance.
Yes.
Right. But when you're doing it on a camera, it's like the storytelling or the subject or, the topic has to be really authentic and compelling.
Yes, 100%. You have to have enough authenticity for it to shine through some of the polish.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
I'm going to sit with that. You said you can't hide behind the polish. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Confessions of a Higher Ed Social Media Manager. This show is a proud member of the Enrollify network, home to higher ed's largest collection of podcasts. Enrollify is where higher ed goes to grow, so be sure to check out our other podcasts, webinars, video clips, blogs, and more. Visit Enrollify.org and subscribe for all the latest details and content drops directly to your inbox. Enrollify is brought to you by Element 451, the digital workforce platform for higher ed. Learn more at element451.com.